Dear students, welcome to my class. It's me Rakesh Kumar Jha. I welcome all of you at Unacademy platform. Let's crack UPSC CSE exam with us. It is India's largest learning platform which gives you a lot of informations all the time. We have daily live classes. We have also structured courses. We do have live tests and quizzes. We have also unlimited access. For all these things, what you have to do, you have to just download Unacademy learning app. It's me Rakesh Kumar Jha. I'm an MA in Political Science from Ramjas College, Delhi University. I have also done PG Diploma in Journalism, Delhi University. I am an MA in Mass Communication, KU. I have also participated in different talk shows as an expert on All India Radio, Akash Bani, and Lok Sabha TV, Raj Sabha TV. I have also participated as a speaker in a number of national and international seminars as a renowned speakers. I have also successfully guided a large number of students, some of them IAS officers and police officers as well. So now I am going to tell about that prepare with more than 100 top educators at Unacademy platforms. It's comprehensive syllabus that Unacademy provides, like polity, governance, IR, geography, science, technology, NCRT summary. History is there, optional courses, environment, ecology, art and culture. Current affairs is also very important that I will be taking. Indian economy, practice strategy, answer writing courses. So these are the things that you can take up, and I hope that if you understand all these things, it will definitely help you. UPSC CSE subscription is there for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. And UPSC CSE like plus and iconic course, if you go for iconic course, it will really save your time and it will really give you good start. So if you join 24 months, then you can save 60%, and if you go for like 12 months, it will definitely save 54% your money. Please you use RJ01. If you apply my code, that is RJ01, my reference code, you will have 10% discount on all the courses. Okay, so live classes is there, test series, unlimited structure, personal courses, daily mains, question practice, study planner, personalized feedback. So these are the things that you can have. So I have to say that these are very important for your purpose, and lots of optional subscription are there. Introductory offers is also there, that has already finished now. Dedicated focus on optional subject like public administration, public political science, international relation, psychology, sociology, geography. These are the things that you will be taking also. Then the durations and optional courses are there. Then it's all about me that you can also do about the special live classes. Right now I am going to discuss about the optional subject paper 1, political theory and Indian politics, and part A, political theory and thinkers, that I am going to discuss part 2 by Rakesh Kumar Jha, a civil services coach, author and motivational speaker. I am going to discuss this because I have already discussed a lot of things about the political science and international relations that you have to understand, and you have to understand all the nitty-gritty, that what are important topics, what are the things that you have to also understand. And this is complete table of content of you know uh, the PSIR of the subject paper 1 as per the UPSC pattern. We will also discuss in various lectures. Part 1, political theory and the Indian politics, the political theory is there, power of hegemony, everything is there. So that these all topics are very important. We are doing this topic right now. We are doing this political theory, meaning and approaches. This is what I have already discussed in the previous lecture also. So let's start the topic. These are the topics that you have to study, and I hope that definitely you can understand all these nitty-gritty. It will solve your everything out there. Okay, so uh, post behavioral approach. Right now, I am going to discuss about you, because this is very important. The mid of 1960s, behavioralism gained a more dominant position in the methodology of political science. Like relevance and actions were main slogans of post-behavioralism. In modern social science, behaviorism approach has shown increasing concern with the problem solving of the prevailing problems of the society. In this way, it is largely absorbed post-behavioral orientation within its scope. This is what you have to also understand. that the behaviorism approach is also very good, and you have to do all these things in a very rightful manner. So I think that post behavior approach is also very important, and you have to understand the political science study, how political science can be studied, how these things can be done. So I feel that this is the way, this is the right thing that we have to also adopt. Distinction between behavioral and post behavioral approaches. What is the distinction that we have to also understand? Two is there, behavioral approach is there, post behavioral approach is there. So the issue, the nature of inquiry, what is the nature of inquiry? And behavioral approach search for pure knowledge and the theory. So behavioral means what is in the behavior, what is the practical, what is pragmatic. So this is the behavioral approach, this is the behavioral thing that we have to also understand. Post behavioral approach search for applied knowledge and practice, also very important. That what is the search for the post behavioral approach, that we have to also take care. So I think that if you go by like the issue, the behavioral approach, the post behavioral approach, then I think it will be very important. Purpose of inquiry, what is the purpose of inquiry? Then this is the issue. In the behavioral approach it is said, knowledge for knowledge sake, not interested in action. That behavioral approach, that it is for the knowledge. So if someone wants to gain the knowledge, then it's okay, he or she can gain the knowledge, but what the things that is important, that you have to also take care. I feel that knowledge for knowledge sake is okay, and this is the behavioral approach. Next is that relevance of knowledge to satisfy social needs and action for problem solving. Okay, so this is the relevance of knowledge to satisfy social needs and action for the problem solving. So I think it would be very fine enough if you understand all this nitty-gritty. Next issue is that the focus of a study. What is the focus of a study? That we have to also understand. Micro level analysis, focus on small units, procession of decision making. So this is the things that the behavioral approach talks about regarding the focus of a study. Next is that macro level analysis, focus on role of big units, content of the decision. This is also very important, and I feel that if you go by this thing, then definitely it will help you. I hope that if you go by this important thing, then definitely it will be having a lot of things. Attitude towards values, what is the value neutral, interested in the choice of values, this is also very important. Besides, attitude towards social change, what is the social change, that you have to also then. So interested in the status quo, not interested in the social change. Behavioral approach, interested in social change for solving social problems. I think that if you understand these all things, then definitely you will have a lots of issues, lots of approaches. Particularly right now, the distinction between behavioral and the post behavioral approaches you have to understand. So this is the basic criteria, this is the table content that you have to also take care. Next is that the system approach by David Easton. It is very important, the system approach by David Easton. The political system operates within an environment. Very true. Environment creates demand from different parts of the society, such as demand for reservation is there, the matter of employment of certain groups, demand for better working conditions or minimum wages, demand for better transportation facilities, demand for better health facilities. I think that is the important fact that the any political system works in an environment. The environment really creates demand. What kind of demand? Someone asking about the reservation, some talks about the employment, and some talks about the minimum wages and all. If these are the things that we have to understand in a very rightful and the perfect manner. I feel that if you do all this nitty gritty, it will definitely help you. If it will really, because any political system, dear students, you have to find out that how any political system runs. Political system cannot run in the vacuum. So this system is also surrounded by some another ecosystem. Ecosystem means in what ways everything is happening, because you could have seen that any country, any society runs by certain values, certain aspirations, and that aspirations can be met out by the political system. If the political system is not fulfilling desires and aspirations of the electorate, of the citizen of that particular society, then it is bound to happen that definitely the society will collapse and the political system will have a lot of turmoil. So that you have to also take care. Why I mean to say, because political system cannot run in the vacuum. You have to take care of all these things. Political system always runs in a particular way, that we have to also understand. So I think that whether it is environments and demand support, so this is a kind of a chart that I am going to share with you, that you look at the fit, like first of all, this is you have to understand, and environment demands supports, this is the political system that you have to understand. This is the demand and outputs, decisions, policies, environment. This is a table of content. This is a chart that I am sharing with you, that you have to understand that how this political system runs, how this environment demands and supports are running, how these decisions and policies are being happening. This is the things that you have to also understand. So I feel that the system approach developed by David Estin is a very important, and you should understand these things. And precisely in a sentence, I can say that every political system operates with an environment, and that environment is created by the citizen of that particular society and the country. The people, the citizens, they have their own aspirations, they have their own kinds of things of towards the society, towards the political system particularly. So they demand some certain things, and ultimately it has to be fulfilled by the concerned authorities, political parties, political system, and only then the political system can smoothly run. Otherwise, what happens? It is not possible that the system can run, because ultimately in a democratic system like in India, it is the people who choose the government. Either it is authoritarian or it is monarchy. It is a completely democratic country. Democratic country means what? That the you have to have that thing. You have to have the support of the people, support of the people, so that it has to be understood that everything is possible, anything is possible only when the people are supporting you, and without the people support, without the people aspirations, nothing can be achieved. So this is a kind of, I can say, it is a really realistic approach, and that is what the system approach David Easton has given. So this is very important approach that we have to feel, that the system approach very relevant, very important, and all have to know that the practical approach given by the David Easton. Okay, dear students, right? Okay, right. Next is that next I am talking different demands have different levels of support. Easton stated that the demands and supports establish inputs. The political system receives these inputs from the environment. That we have to also understand, that the different kinds of demands and different kinds of things that we have to also understood. And political system receives these inputs from the environment. This is what we have to also understand. Taking after various factors into consideration, government decides to take action on some of these demands, while others are not acted upon. Through the conversion process, inputs are converted into outputs by the decisions makers in the form of policies, decisions, rules, regulations, laws. That we have to also understand, and I think that if you understand this nitty gritty, it will really have a great thing. And I can feel that after taking various factors, if you consider various factors, how government decides actions on some of these demands while others are not acted upon, through this conversion process, the inputs are converted into outputs by the decisions makers in the form of policy, decisions, rules, regulations, laws. Definitely when society and the particular section of the society says something that okay, we need reservation, we need certain laws should be rectified, then inputs are given by the society, and after that the government thinks upon, government decides that whether it is viable, it is according to the rule of law, whether it is according to the land of law. This is what we have to understand. So I think that if you understand these things, because political science is such a subject where you have to apply your common sense, you have to see what is happening around you, and that's the way to understand political science. What is the outflow? Outflows flow back into the environment through a feedback mechanism, giving rise to fresh demands. Consequently, it is cyclical process. The basic thing is that you have to understand the mechanism, you have to giving rise to the fresh demands consequently, and I think this is the right way to understand. So primarily, if I sum up this point, then I can say that what Easton says, Easton says that the demands and supports establish inputs. The political system receives these inputs from the environment. This is the kind of Easton is saying that whatever the society is aspiring, society is asking, demanding anything, so that thing can be only government can do, because the society by itself cannot do, because society does not have the executive power, executive authority. It is the government to decide, the executive can think. So whatever the things are coming from the grassroots, whatever things are coming from the government, ultimately government has to take decision after the inputs coming to the government, and finally the decisions are being taken by all this. So the basic thing is that I feel that this is the basic point. On the point you have to very clear that the decisions are being taken by the government in accordance with the needs and aspirations of society, right? Now I am going to discuss the next, structural functional approach. What is the structural functional approach? According to this approach, society is considered as a single interrelated system where each part of the system has a certain and dissimilar role. The structural functional approach may be considered as an outgrowth of the system analysis. These approaches, essential the structures and the functions, very important for you. Gabriel Almond is follower of this approach. The structural functional approach is the Almond has the pioneer of this system. I hope that this is what we have to also understand. He explained political system as a special system of interactions that exist in all societies performing certain functions. So the political system is a very important system. It is a special system of interactions that really exist in all societies performing certain functions. So I feel that this is the structural functions you have to also understand, and I hope that these are the approaches that are very important in a sense, because until unless you don't know how to read political science, how many approaches are there, it is very difficult to understand the political science. So once again I have to say that, dear student, you have to understand all this nitty gritty so that you can know the questions in a very rightful manner. Next is that what this Almond is saying, that you have to also understand. His theory revealed that the main characteristics of a political system are comprehensiveness, interdependence, and existence of boundaries. Like Easton and Almond also consider that all political systems perform input and output functions. Input functions of political systems are political socialization and recruitment, interest articulation, interest aggression, and political communications. These are the things that you have to understand, that how the political socialization is there, and aggression is there, political communication is there. These are the things that we have to also take care. And besides, Almond made three-fold classifications. What are the three-fold classifications that we have to know? Output functions relating to policy making and implementation. These output functions are rule making, rule applications, and rule adjunctions. Thus, Almond affirmed that a stable and efficient political system converts into outputs. These are the things that you have to also understand, and I hope that if you go by this all nitty-gritty, if you feel all these things in a rightful manner, then your concept would be very perfect. Next, I am going to discuss mode of structural functional analysis. What is the mode of structural function analysis? Source 2009 Goa. So I am going to discuss about environment, function, structure. Then you know environment, function, structure, political system, the inputs. What is the inputs and output that I have to also discuss? First, the political socialist or the political socialization and the recruitment interest articulations, interest aggregations on political communication. Very important. Next is that the family peer group like your school, church, etc. Interest group, political parties, mass media. These are the things that create the environment. Environment in and around you, the system and all. This is the thing that you have to also understand. This is the political system is also has to be influenced. Then environment, the function and structure, rule making, rule application, rule adjustments, legislatives, executive, judiciary. These are the things that you have to also understand. If you have to understand this, you have to also see. I think legislature is there, executive is there. This is what you have to also understand. So I feel environment is being created with a lot of inputs that will become the outputs also. So finally, what you have to say that whatever the political system is there, whatever environment is there, so there must be a kind of input, and that input converts into the output. Primarily, you have to understand all these things, that political system cannot evolve in a viable, political system cannot occur in the viable things. Political system needs some sort of support. Any political system, maybe democratic political system, maybe communist political system. So political system is itself depending on the environment, and what kind of environment society is giving, what kind of environment society is producing, that matters. So students, what I am telling to you, that the political science is a very safe optional paper if you read all these things in a very rightful manner. Why I am saying the rightful manner? Because this can only help you in the understanding of the questions, and you have to need a textbook also. Why I am talking textbook? Because textbook are very important, and I hope that without textbook nothing can be achieved. So you have to read textbook also. Next, I am going to discuss the communication theory approach. What is communication theory? Because these are the approaches that you have to read about the political science. This approach explores the process by which one segment of a system affects another by sending message or information. This is also very true, because there are so many approaches we have discussed so far, like historical, philosophical, like system theory, behavioral theory. There are lots of theories we have discussed regarding the study of political science. So this approach is saying that when you speak something and that reaches to another person or the another group, that is communication. So it also gives a kind of impact towards them. It also say something towards them. So I feel that if you study all these things, it will definitely help. Now the next is that Robert Wiener. Robert Wiener had evolved this approach. Afterwards, Carl Ditch developed it and applied it in political science. Stated that the political system is a network of communication channels, and it is self-regulated. Basic point is that you have to also understand that how political system is working, how this is going to start the thing. So Robert has same something. So Robert and after this Carl has also said, this is what you have to understand. Additionally, he emphasized that the government is responsible for administrating different communication channels. This approach treats government as the decisions making system. Decisions describe that there are four factors of analysis in communication theory, which include lead, lag, gain, and load. These are the important things that we have to also understand. And I hope that if you understand these things, It will really important, and I hope that if you do things, then definitely it will have a different sort of things. So communication theory is primarily saying that one segment affects another segment. Another is that it had evolved this approach that the political system is a network of communication channels and it is self-regulative. He also emphasizes that the government is responsible for different communication channels. This approach treats the governments as the decision-making system, and there are four factors of analysis in communication theory, which include lead, lag, or gain and load. These are the things regarding the communication theory that you have to study. Next, decision making approach. This is also very important approach. This political approach discovers the feature of decision makers as well as the type of influence individuals have on the decision makers. Numerous scholars such as Richard Cinder and Charles the Lindholmes have developed this approach. A political decision which is taken by few actors influence a larger society, and such a decision is generally shaped by a specific situation. Therefore, it takes into account psychological and social aspects of decision makers also. So I think that if you understand this nitty gritty, it will definitely solve the things. It will definitely help in the understanding of political science. I hope that this approach can be also understood in a very practical manner. Next is that, broadly speaking, several approaches to political science have been advocated from time to time. These are broadly divided into two categories that include the empirical analytic or scientific behavioral approach and the legal historical or the normative philosophical. These are the things that you have to also understand, and I feel that if you understand nitty gritty, it will definitely help you. Okay, so dear student, try to understand all these things in a rightful manner. Now I am going to discuss next theory, that is empirical theory. What is empirical theory is also very important. In simple form, empirical political theory explains what is through observation, what is thorough observation. In this approach, a scholar seeks to generate a hypothesis, which is proposed explanation for some phenomena that can be tested empirically. After formulating a hypothesis, a study will be designed to the test of hypothesis. This is the kind of empirical theory that you have to also understand. So I feel that if you go by empirical theory, it will really make you understand that what exactly empirical theory means, how you have to be like in a empirical political theory, what is observation. In this approach, the scholar seeks to generate a hypothesis, a kind of theory which is proposed explanation for some phenomena that can be tested empirically. After formulating a kind of hypothesis, you will be design the hypothesis. I think that this is very important, and I hope that if you understand these things, then definitely it will help you. Next is that normative theory. Normative theory is also very important approach regarding this political science. Normative political theory related to the concept such as justice, equality, and rights. Normative theory talks about like the justice, like equality, rights are there. Next is that historical political theory. Historical political theory involves political philosophers from the past and Thucydides and Plato to the present, as for example Henry Brown and Celia. And my focus on how particular philosophers engaged political problems that continue to be relevant today. So I think also very important that you have to know all these facts and figure. Okay dear students, now I have to say that if you start these things, then definitely it will have a great thing. While the focus has traditionally been on western traditions, that is beginning to the change in this field, so it is also very important. So I feel that the focus has traditionally been on the western tradition. It is very important, and it is also the beginning to change in this field. I feel that this normative theory, and I feel that you have to understand all these nitty gritty. So definitely you have to take care of all these points while you are doing normative theory. Next is that, broadly speaking, empirical approach seeks to discover and describe facts, whereas normative approach seeks to determine and prescribe value. This is also very important. So I think the empirical approach is also very describing in the facts and all these things. Now the difference between empirical and normative approaches of the political theory. What are the like empirical and normative approaches of political theory, that we have to also understand. The issue is that, what is the issue? The chief concern is their facts. So value it ought to be. So there is a difference, that the empirical approach is a very facts based, while normative approach is value based, nature, scientific and descriptive. Whether as in the normative approach, critical and perspective, descriptive, and based on the criterion of validity, sense, experience, and logic, true or false. And the next, in the normative approach, speculation and logic, right or wrong. These are the things that we have to also understand. Next is that it is demonstrated in theoretical literature that the traditional empirical approach to the political science is what makes it positive science. A study of what is as opposed to what ought to be lends a certain respectability to political science that is not attached to opinion writing or political theorists. This is what you have to also understand. While Plato and Aristotle sought to recognize the characteristics of a good polity, most modern political scientists seek to identify the characteristics of the polities, their causes and effects, leaving aside moral judgments about their goodness or badness. This is what you have to also understand, and I feel that everything is in the right direction when you understand the point what the Plato and Aristotle said about this, what other thinkers. So my question is, dear student, when you read any approach, you should also focus what the thinkers have said, particularly the prominent thinkers, what they have said. If they have said anything, it has to be quoted, it has to be understood, and so then your understanding of the topic would be very fine enough. And I hope that if you try to understand these topics, then definitely it would help you. Finally, it is you to take up the issues. It is you to take up all these issues. As an educator, I can give you some suggestions. I can come with the topics, but after that, you need a lot of practice. Okay, dear students. Now, next is that, to summarize, political theory is a separate area within the discipline of political science. Political theory is an outline of what the political order is about. This is also very important. It is also symbolic representations about the word political. It is a formal, logical, and systematic analysis of the processes and consequences of the political activity. It is also analytical, expository, and descriptive. It seeks to give, order, coherence, and meaning to what is described as political. So I think that if you summarize all this nitty gritty, it will definitely help you. And I hope that by explaining all these points, you will have a lot of understanding. And you start reading NCERT books, and directly you can come with the kind of textbook also. It will really help you. Okay, dear students. Now I am discussing the political theorists concentrate more on theoretical claims instead of empirical claims about the nature of the polity. There are different approaches which explains the political system, which includes like modern and traditional approaches. In behavioral approach, scientific method is emphasized because of behaviors of several actors in political situations is capable of scientific study. Normative approach is linked to philosophical method because norms and values can be determined philosophically. Another classification of political approach is empirical analysis of political events. These are the things that you have to also understand, and one by one, if you count it, it's very important. And I hope that if you understand all this nitty gritty, if you understand all these points in a very rightful manner, you will understand in a very perfect way. Okay, the next is that paper 1, political theory and Indian politics. Political theory and thinkers. It's very important that I am going to discuss, because the part 1 I am going to discuss here for the paper number 1, the political theory and Indian politics, and part A, I mean to say the paper 1 part A I am discussing. Now I am going to discuss about the concept of power, hegemony, ideology and legitimacy. Topic 1 I have finished, topic 2 I have started. What is the concept of power? What is hegemony? What is ideology? What is legitimacy? These are all topics of paper number 1, that is political theory and Indian politics. That part A, political theory and thinkers, I am going to discuss. Next is that since ancient time, social theorists try to define the queries that people who lack economic power consent to hierarchies of social and political power. Since ancient time, it is not new today that the social theorists all the time they try to define that how people who lack economic power, they do not have much money, and what are the hierarchies of social and political power, that we have to also understand. They have used philosophy, hegemony, and discourse as main notion to explain the intersections between the social production of knowledge and the continuation of the power relations. That we have to also take care either in the first or second. The Marxist thought of ideology explains how the dominant ideas within a given society reveal the interest of a ruler economic class. This is the Marxist thought that you have to also understand. Marx and others relate ideology to a vision of society dominated by economic class as a field of social power. However, theorists of gender and race have questioned the place of class as the locus of power. So this is the also next theory that you have to also believe. So the primarily thing is that ultimately you have to find out that society, in a society there are different strata of people who are living. So all the social theorists, all the thinkers, they have tried to find out that what is the structure, how the people are living, and these all things have to be studied in terms of political science, right? Okay, next is that power. Power is very important. You might have heard so many times power. What is power? Power is a multifaceted notion. Power is a multifaceted notion. Power is a vital element of human survival, and it has signs and manifestations in every aspect of social life, from interpersonal relations through economic transactions to spiritual and political disagreements. Very important. Power is a multifaceted notion. Power is a vital element of human survival, and it has signs and manifestations in every aspect of social life, from interpersonal relations through economic transactions to spiritual and political disagreements. Power is associated with politics, authority and wealth. So how power comes? If it is in the politics, if you have the authority, if you have the wealth, the idea of power is that of being able to influence the actions or decisions of another, whether there will be through the use of soft power tactics or blatant force. So this is the notion of power. Definitely everyone has the need of power. Without power, humans cannot survive. This is the principles that we have to know, and finally you have to see it is a multifaceted notion. It is a human survival, and the politics, authority and wealth. The idea of power is that of being able to influence actions and decisions of another. So these all things and it has signs and manifestation in every aspect of social life, from interpersonal relations through economic transactions to spiritual and political disagreement. This is the definition of the power, and you could have seen in your life also that without power nothing can be done. This is what we have to also understand. Next is that historically, power has been considered by such criteria as population size, region, natural resources, economic growth, military force, and social constancy. This is the way that we have to also understand. And I mean that historically, this is the criteria that you have to also understand. Next is that it is a documented that notion of power is the most powerful in the arena of political science. Many theorists like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, so they have affirmed the importance of power in their own way. Very, very true that different theorists have been given, but what Socrates have said, Plato, Aristotle have said. In India, Kautilya Chanakya gave importance of power in his famous book Kautilya Arthashastra because it was the basis of whole human life. I think that without the power, nothing can be achieved. You cannot survive, you cannot live. So everything is possible only when if you know all these nitty gritty, and if you don't know, it's very difficult. Next one is that many theorists explain the concept of power, like Klein in 2012 defined as the ability, whether the personal or social, to get things done either to enforce one's own will or to enforce the collective will of some group over others. That we have to also understand that how Klein has done, what is the ability, whether the personal or social, to get things done either to enforce one's own will or to enforce the collective will of some groups over others. This is what the power means. Power is therefore an ability or potential of an individual or groups of the individuals to influence and compel action. Power can be force or influence of action, whether accepted or recognized or not. This is the thing that is, I mean, described about the power, and I think that if you know all these things, you will be definitely understanding in a very rightful manner, right? Now, next is that probably the best known description of power is Weber theoretical and model who characterize the power as the chance of man or number of men to realize their own will in a communal action, even against the resistance of others who are participating in action. It's very important, and I think that this model is also very important, that particularly like communal action even against the resistance of others who are participating in action. These are the things that you have to also understand, and I hope that if you understand this nitty gritty, only then you can understand the approaches of political science, you can understand the things in a very rightful manner. Now I am going to discuss, dear students, about table Max Weber's typology of power. What Max Weber talks about the power, that we have to also understand. I think if you understand these things, it will definitely help you. People are forced to do as they are told under threat of punishment, for example, in a prison or in a school room. So, people and citizens are forced to do something as they are told under threat of punishment. For example, either in a prison or in a schoolroom. Then, charismatic people obey because of the personal qualities of the person doing telling. Well-known charismatic figures like include Jesus Christ, Hitler, Chairman Mao, so forth. However, charismatic figures arise in any social grouping, and such people assume positions of authority over others on the basis of personal qualities of leadership perceived in that individual by other group members. So this is the thing that we have to also know. Traditional, those who exercise authority to do so because they continue a traditional and support the preservations and continuation of existing values and social ties. Example, the royal family. This is the kinds of, like, people are obeying powers, and what is the traditional things and all. Authority, who are the authority that we have to also take care. Legal, rational, those in authority give orders and expect they will be obeyed because their job gives them the right to give orders. Anyone who fills the same position has right to give orders, which means this type of, the authority is not based upon the personal qualities of the individual. Orders are only to be obeyed if they are relevant to the situations in which they are given. For example, a teacher could reasonably accept the order to complete your homework by Thursday to be obeyed by a student in their class. The teacher could not reasonably accept that same order issued to the student parents would be obeyed. Similarly, the order to go down the street and get me a newspaper would not be seen as a legitimate order for the teacher to give his student. Hence, the student would not feel compelled to obey. This form of power is the typical form that exists in our society and is sometimes referred to as a bureaucratic power, since it is based upon a status of an individual's position in social hierarchy rather than individual himself. These are the things that the legal tradition, the legal authority is there. So these are the points that we have to know about the Max Weber. You have to know about traditional things, arithmetic things, authority, and then the legal rational. So these are the things that you have to also understand. And I hope that if you understand these things, it will definitely help you. Next is that Russell said that the power was the production of intended effect. What Russell was a great thinker. He said that the power was the production of intended effects. Lewis argued that the power is being exercised by hegemonies whose interest was to maintain a status quo by fashioning people's perception, belief and values so that their stated preference were contrary to the interest. According to Lassell and Kaplan, the concept of power is perhaps the most fundamental in the whole of political science. Political process is the shaping, distribution, and exercise of power in a wider sense of all the differences, values, or influence in general. This is what you have to also understand. So I think that if you go by this particular thing, then you have to also understand that everything can be possible if you read one by one topic, if you read one by one subtopics, then definitely you can enjoy. Next is that H.J. Morgenthau. Hans Morgenthau stated the power politics among the nation. Morgenthau stated the power politics was rooted in lust for power, which is the common to all men. For this reason was inseparable from social life itself. In the view of Eric, it is very important, dear student, that what Hans Morgenthau said, that the power politics was rooted in the lust for power, which is common to know all men, for the region was inseparable. It is totally inseparable from the social life itself, because it is a lust for power which is common to all men, and it is inseparable in the social life also. In the view of Eric Kaufman, politics is also inseparable from power. States and governments exist to exert power. This is what you have to also understand, and all these things you have to write down in your copy, your notebook, because if you understand these things, only then you can mention all these things in a very perfect manner. In each country and in the world at large, there is either a balance of power, as unstable balance of power, or no balance of power at all. But there is always power political power exists in the world will be used by those who have it. Herbert Edward Stiles defined power as the ability to influence the behavior of others in accordance with the one's own ends. Kathleen adopts Max Weber's description of politics as the struggle of power or the influencing of those in power. I think that if you go by this, it will definitely open up your mind regarding the political science. You can understand the political science in a much and better way. Now I am going to discuss what in the modern time Machiavelli, Hobbes, Nietzsche have emphasized the significance of power that we have to also write down that in modern time if Machiavelli had written the prince, what is the use of prince, how prince is important to your part of the syllabus. Like Hobbes I am talking of, if Hobbes is there, what Hobbes saying about the social contract theory, like John Locke and everything. Other famous theories like Catlin, Charles Merriam, Harold Laswell, H.J. Morgenthau, etc. have established power as one of the fundamental concepts. According to Catlin, concept of power is basic in political science. Mackay is of the view that everything that is happening around us is in some way or in other concerned with power. It is the power which bests the state with the order and peace. So I think these are the different definitions that if you have to go, please understand in a very rightful manner. Next is that power is related with the prosperity and it's used to gain social importance through like bribe, cajole, support, block various forces, personal own interest. These are the things that you have to also, it's a social importance that you have to gain all the times, and power is related with prosperity. When you become powerful, then social importance grows up. The theory of power is also closely associated to that of realism, since power provides a sense of security in holding, with the logic that nobody can hurt, influence people where they have the ability to hurt, influence them. Therefore, each party should try to maximize and combine its power, which is also very important. Power is one of the most essential and yet difficult concepts in international relations. It's also very important, and I hope that if you understand these things, it will definitely help you. And I hope that if you understand this nitty gritty, it will have a kind of everything in a perfect and rightful manner. Okay, dear students, now I am going to tell about the few problems in political science are more confusing than in the problem of social power. Despite extensive use, power remains a slippery and challenging notion that we have to also understand. There are some dispute upon basic definitions. Individual theorists proposing their own more or less characteristics, terminologies, and unexpectedly little considerations of the implications of the alternative uses. That some people have more power than others is one of the most latent facts of the human existence. I think if you understand all these things, it will definitely help in a very perfect manner. So, without understanding this power approach, cannot have political science understanding. Next, I am going to talk in the Western traditional thought. Power is also major concept about political phenomena. In general, power is disappointing concept. According to H. Carr and Hans Morgenthau, power has been an important, some would say too important, variable in international political theorizing, although some may regard power analysis as traditional and redundant. Current modification in social science philosophy about power propose the possibility of investigating this approach to understand an international relations. These are the very important things that you have to know, and I hope that by discussing all these points, I think that every technical things I have discussed with the students. So please try to understand that, and I think H. Carr and like Hans Morgan too have given a very rightful examples, definitions as well. Then we have to talk about the sources of power. What is the sources of power? We have to also understand about the sources of power. Definitely, the power comes from numerous sources, each of which has different effects on the targets of that power. Some originate from individual characteristics, others draw an aspect of an organizational structure. There are six types of power that include legitimate, referent, expert, reward, coercive, and informal. The first one is the legitimate power. It is also known as positional power. This is the power individuals have from their role and status within an organization. Legitimate power usually involves formal authority delegated to the holder of the position. And referent power. Referent power originates from the ability to the individuals to attract others. It is based on the personality and interpersonal skills of power holder. Power, the person may be admired because of a specific personal mannerism, such as charisma or likability. These positive feelings become the more basis of interpersonal influence. So this is a referent power that is also very important. Next one, expert power. Expert powers draws from a person, ability and knowledge, and is especially strong when an organization has a high need for them, narrower than most sources of power. The power of an expert typically applies only in the specific area of the person's expertise and credibility. Reward power. Reward power comes from the ability to bestow valued materials, rewards, or create other positive incentives. Refers to the extent which the individual can provide external motivation to others through benefits or gifts. This is the reward power. When someone is giving reward, you are being motivated, and I think that these are the powers that we have to discuss, and it has very important aspects. Next is that coercive power. Coercive power is the means and application of sanctions and other negative outcomes. This can include direct punishment or the withholding of desired resources of reward. Coercive power relies on fear to induce compliance. Informational power. Informational power, derives from access to facts and the knowledge that others find helpful or valuable. That accesses can signify relationships with the other powers holder and convey status that creates a positive impression. Informational powers has, numerous benefits in the building credibility and rational persuasions. It may also serve as the basis for beneficial exchange with others who seek the information. So I think that if you go by this informational power, if you go by this coercive power, you can understand a lot of dimensions of the power as well. So, as to fact that knowledge that others find helpful or valuable, that access can signify relationships with the other power holders and convey status that creates a positive impression. Informational power has numerous benefits in building credibility and rational persuasions. It may also serve as the basis for beneficial exchanges with others who seek that information. Next is that power has various forms, characteristics, can be exercised with the different degrees of intensity, with the force aggregation and contrariety, the kindness of politeness, what distinguishes the power. Okay, next is that it is very important that you have to know all these points, because I think without this nothing can be done. I hope that if you understand regarding the power, I have talked all these notions, everything is out there. I have also discussed about the probability, the type of power is there. Russell had said these things, Hans Morgan too, and then powers related with the prosperity, this also I have discussed. Western traditional thought I have discussed, sources of power, legitimate power, referent power, and then expert power, reward power, coercive power, informational power, and after that we had discussed, power has various forms of charismatic. So this is what I have to discuss, that informational power we have discussed. So after this discussing what I have found, that a lot of things regarding the power you have to know. Why I am saying is because I think that if you understand all these things, it will really help you. Because generally what happens when you read political science as an optional paper, you should give a particular focus to it. Why? Because you have to extract the points, and if you cannot extend the point in a rightful manner, then definitely you will have a lot of problems. So power has various forms, characteristics, and everything is there, so that I have discussed. Next is that one form of power is hard power. I define that the ability to affect other to get the outcomes and wants. Command or hard power, very important. And hard power is based on military interference, coercive diplomacy, and economic sanctions, and relies on tangible power sources as armed force or economic means. The efficiency of any power resources depends on context. Professor Joseph Nye Machiavelli said that for a prince it was safer to be feared than to be loved. Nye squared that is the better to be both. So I think you have to take care of all these positive points, and definitely it will help you. Soft power is the ability to create a center of attention of people one side without compulsion. There is defined that soft power is the capacity to persuade others to do what one wants. According to Nye, persuasive power is based on attraction and emulations and association with intangible power resources such as culture, ideology, and institutions. Cooper emphasizes the importance of legitimacy, and I think it will be very right to understand legitimate in the order to enhance soft power. These are the things that you have to know, and I hope that if you understand these things, definitely it will help you. And legitimacy is also soft power, and in other words, militaries are well suited for defeating states. Yes, sir. These are the very important point that you have to know. Effectiveness is there, that you have to know. Also, what you had say, what are the definitions that you have to also know. So I think that another type of power is smart power, also very good for a strategy. This is also very important that you have to know about smart power. To summarize, power is the capability to influence or control behavior of people. The term authority is often used to power perceived as legitimate by the social structure. Power can be seen as sinful or unjust, but the exercise of power is accepted as an endemic to humans as a social beings. In the next class, we will discuss hegemony, ideology, and legitimacy. Please try to understand that these are the things that I have discussed, and I hope you could have enjoyed it. And let's say my code is RJ01. If you apply my code RJ01, you will have 10% discount on all the courses. Okay, dear students. Once again, thank you very much. And once again, I am saying all the students, have faith in your preparation. Just start the things, and my homework is given to you. Did you read power? In the next class, I will be discussing hegemony, ideology, legitimacy. So this is how I can start the things like nature significance, paper 1, that is the part 1, that is chapter number 1, and after that we will go, I am talking chapter number 2. So this is the right way to discuss. Once again, thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye. See you. Okay. So anything is there, you can also consult with me by telegram address, that is